Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve with my new book, The Spirit of Romance. Oh, now, we're going to talk romance here in many, many ways. And see, sometimes talking real romance, some of the depth of romance, is different from just the everyday use of the term. A lot of times we think of romance as something, just exclusive to a certain sort of situation, like when we meet somebody and we're very romantic in the beginning, which means that we're treating them with respect and we're very careful about what we're doing. And at the same time, we're trying to put our best foot forward and all of that. Well, that's one view of romance, but see, that's short-lived. That's not 24/7. That doesn't last a lifetime. And we want our romance to last a lifetime. When we talk about, well, you're the one and only. I could never love another person the way I love you. Well, we talk that way to our spouses and, even within the boyfriend-girlfriend mode. Well, if we start talking that way, we have to come deep here, people, because now it involves real love and involves a real relationship. We start talking about meaningful relationships. Well, the first meaningful relationship, we want to put it that way, begins with you. It begins within yourself, your soul. It begins within your own consciousness. Hey, now we're getting to the root of romance here. The root of romance is something that we could call, God, the universe, that higher power, that higher self-capacity, whatever. We're talking about something that's so deep that sometimes we fear to tread in that area. And we know that we live in a fear-based world. It's not really a love-based world because we debase love so often in our world. And we do that in ways that we don't even realize. We spend more time on things that are not love-oriented than things that are love-oriented. But at the same time, you ask 100 people, tell me the 5 most important things in your life. I guarantee you 4 of them, and those top 4 most likely, are going to be things that are love-oriented. Oh, my wife. Oh, my husband. My kids. The family. My religion, my involvement with something that maybe is helping people, my humanitarian involvements, whatever. The last on the list, or close to last, is going to be my job. Not too many people really love their jobs like Al Cole does, because, hey, my job is talking to people who really not only edify you, my listening audience, but edify me. Well, that's a great job to have, but we know a lot of people really don't like their jobs, but most people spend more time in the workplace with something that they don't like too much than in the family place, the home, where presumably they love the people around them, their family. And so we have to change that. But one way that we can change it in a, non-abrupt way, without having to change our whole way of life societally, is we can take some alone time. Now, that's the message. If we settle back in to, once a week anyway, hopefully it would be even more than that, but once a week, taking some alone time, getting to know ourselves a little bit. Not just de-stressing. No. A peaceful time. Wow, now we're putting the positive spin on it. Spending some peaceful time with ourselves and with ourself, capital S, and getting to know our consciousness. And even getting to know our consciousness in a way of asking questions to our consciousness that we might not ask to ourself with a small s. We might never think of saying, well, what are you all about? Why are you the person that was created to be the person that you are? What are the things that you really value? What is the most important love consideration in your life? We don't really talk that way to people around us. We don't even talk that way to ourselves. But if we start to think of ourselves as a consciousness, it becomes easy, because now all of those questions have an upstairs answer. In other words, we're really talking to the mastermind energy right now. Whatever we call God, whatever we call that higher power, we are creating a higher self capacity. And it's just like coming out of that womb the first time. I guarantee you said, whoa, I'm here, I made it, I'm alive. It's the greatest blessing in the world, people, to be alive at all. We start thinking that way. Wow, now we energize love, that love capacity when we concentrate on it in our consciousness. And we say, it's vibrant. I can see finally the forest from the trees, and I can see the entire forest now. And I can understand that I'm blessed just to be here. And now we concentrate on that love, just to be here. And we energize that. Love energy, like any other energy, we can transmit that outwardly to the people who we say we really love the most, our husbands, our wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, the family, the kids, and mother, father, best friends too. Everybody shares in this. It's kind of like universal energy going out, undulating. Hey, now it's romance becomes the loving relationship that we all enter into with life itself. No better way to describe romance. So we've gotten to the deeper aspects here, and that's what we talk about on People of Distinction. A lot of the deep stuff that is just so apparent in our consciousness, but we never really get to it unless we talk directly to that consciousness. And we talk directly to your consciousness, people. That's why we've become very popular. Coming from CBS Radio, well, I've had a lot of national contacts with publishers, book publishers, agents, and they give me about 80% of my guests. So you're getting some of the finest people in the nation who are prepared to talk very proactively and very communicatively about what they do. And that makes us pretty popular. We're a popular station, and we're a popular show. And with that sort of popularity, well, we've been asked into the popular networks, including the iTunes radio network. Everybody knows iTunes. Well, iTunes broadcasts a lot of CBS radio shows. And under News Talk at iTunes, they broadcast shows from the BBC and public broadcasting, everything. And so I feel very honored that they broadcast People of Distinction as well. But not only that, I've formulated my own radio network. Hey, that means that I have like-minded talk show hosts whose shows I air on my network too. One of them being the great international actress Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace starred in one of the biggest films ever, Steven Spielberg's E.T., the Extraterrestrial. I know you've seen that one a few times. Dee played the mother in that, got the starring bill. And Dee is in there every week on my Alcol People of Distinction radio network, aired through the iTunes radio network and other great networks around. And she offers a show called Conscious Creation. Whoa, gotta love that title there. And Dee is always in there doing new film as well. And you can email me, and I'll give you more info about the things that I do with People of Distinction, my radio network, the People of Distinction Humanitarian Awards, coming up in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, as a matter of fact, later on this year, and Montgomery County, Maryland, New York City, everything. And communications training is what I offer as well. If you want to put messages together in a really tight public way to attract public attention to what you do, I can help you out that way. If you have a talk show that you're thinking about putting together, or maybe you already have it together, you want more visibility to it, email me at alcoholic@gmail.com. And that's ALCOLEHOLIC @gmail.com. Love that handle, alcoholic. You know, it was my CBS radio listeners who developed that one. It seemed like from day one, my listeners were saying, yeah, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're alcoholics. Hey, and it just got around, and now so many people call themselves alcoholics, and I love that. So alcoholic@gmail.com is the place to reach me. And I'm also a published author with Chicken Soup for the Soul. Chicken Soup for the Soul is distributed by Simon & Schuster, CBS affiliate. So we keep it in the family that way. Coming up, all right, you're going to love this lady. Strap down, people, because this is a one-of-a-kind thing here. Veronica Torres is her name. She was brought to me by one of my great publicists with Dancing Word Group. Deborah has given me so many marvelous guests. Veronica is a channel. All right. Now, what does that mean? Channel 1, Channel 2, Channel 3, Channel 4. What channel are you talking about, Al? Well, see, a channel, and I'm not the definitive word on this. Okay, so Veronica knows more about how to define channel. But for you, my listening audience, who don't know what a channel is, a spiritual channel, let's say, it's somebody who is talking the talk, through their vocal cords, but the inspiration for that, or the originator of that talk, is not necessarily them, but some force within them. Just put it that way, as broadly as I can here. A force within that is really speaking those words, and that individual is just the channel for that force within to express itself. And now with Veronica, she is doing something that is very, very much different. A lot of people have come on my show and channeled maybe, Michael, St. Michael, Archangel Michael, as he's also known, and a lot of the archangels. Well, Veronica channels Elohim. Now, if you look up that word, and I'll spell it, Elohim, it's the Jewish word for God. And that's a forceful word there, Elohim, sometimes shortened to just El. Elohim created the solar system. Now, we're going to have the pleasure, the honor of, later on in the show, actually speaking directly with Elohim through Veronica Torres. Now, that's really going to be something, because I think that Elohim is really going to be positively inclined here on people of distinction. Veronica already told me there were good vibes happening here. And you're going to be the recipients of the greatness, my listening audience, because we're going to, ask some deep questions, and we're going to get some deep answers here. And Elohim, one of the things I love about Elohim already is Elohim wanted to know himself, herself, itself, however, we want to term Elohim right now, so greatly in the beginning that then, and my special word for God is beauty. And beauty, I call it. I don't assign a gender to beauty, so it is good enough that way. Of course, it's capital I-T. If we want to call Elohim it created an infinite variety of itself. Whoa. It's right up the pathway of my book, The Spirit of Romance. So we're going to have a stimulating conversation with Elohim. But also, Veronica is a writer. She has a free ebook out there called Messages from Elohim, and _free. You can go to her website to grab that one, Elohim.com. That's www.elohim.com. And also, Veronica is offering private sessions. And the website to go to take advantage of that is Elohim.com/private. So it's essentially the same website, different page. Elohim.com/private to get involved with private sessions with Veronica. And after you hear her speak, and after you hear Elohim speak, I think if you're inclined that way anyway, you're going to want to go in that direction with private sessions with this wonderful, wonderful human being. And we're going to bring her on right now. Veronica Torres, how are you today? And thank you for coming to People of Distinction with Al Cole.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's wonderful to be with you.
Thank you, Veronica. This is really such a pleasure to have you on. And I love what we're going to be getting into with actually talking with Eloheim later on in the show. Let's start out with Veronica here. Now, how does a nice girl from like you from any town in USA turn out to be a channel? Whoa there. That doesn't happen every day. Tell us a little bit about this history here.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience, I'll tell you. I was married. I was in a difficult marriage, and I went to a psychic to see if I could get help with my marriage. And the psychic said, "You are going to become a channel, and you're going to be known around the world." And I looked at him and said, "I don't want that. I just want help with my marriage." And he said, "Well, that's what you get." And I thought, well, forget that. And I put it on the back burner because I had enough on my plate, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years later, I had moved to a new town, and I wanted friends, so I went to a yoga class, and the yoga class people said, "We're going to be doing a chant at the end of the week. Do you want to come?" And I had never done a chant before, but again, I wanted friends, so I showed up for the chanting. And it was just a small group of about 5 women, and the chanting was very monotonous, sort of nyong, 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 that sort of sound. And it went on for a while, and so I got really, really, really altered by the chanting. And at the end of it, we sat in a circle, and all of a sudden this voice just came out of my mouth, and it gave a message to a woman sitting across from me who I had never met before. And at the end of this short message said, "We are the Elohim, and we are pleased to have been with you today." At which point, I burst into tears. Not because I was frightened. I wasn't frightened. I knew what it was. I was familiar with channeling. I wasn't nervous or frightened or any of that. I felt too conspicuous. I didn't like everyone looking at me. And I thought, I don't want people to look at me. I can't do this channeling thing because I don't want to be looked at all the time. That was my issue. Clearly, I've gotten over that one.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere around the 500th YouTube video, I think, is when I got over it.
Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, we have 500 YouTube videos. So then I set it aside again because I was like, forget this. I don't want this. And so a ways later, maybe, oh, goodness, it might have been 2 years or more later, a friend of mine phoned me, and she said, "A guy at work just told me my biorhythms are off. Do you know anything about biorhythms?" And I said, "I don't know anything about biorhythms, but I know about chakras. So if you come over, I'll look at your chakras and see if that's the same thing." And so she came over, and we talked about her chakras, and then we got talking about a few other things and a few other things. And after a few conversations, I said, there's this channeling thing. Do you want to see if we can do that? And she said, yeah, let's do that. So I sat down, and I said, I have no idea how to do this. Closed my eyes, and a voice came out of my mouth, and it was Elohim.
Wow.
And so what we would do is during the week, we'd write down questions, and we'd get together on the weekend and ask the questions. And after about 3 months, Elohim said, "Hey, this isn't just for the 2 of you. Get a group together." So we went back to the yoga group and got them all together and a few more people and had it at the exact same place that they first came through. And that was 2002, and I've been having public events ever since.
Isn't that something? What a great rundown indicating that people, if we give people the opportunity in the media and maybe just in our everyday lives to get deep with life and to talk about and explore some of the real reasons why we're here, human beings will climb aboard on that every time. You're living proof of that. It's not anything that you wanted to go into, but it just, when Elohim reached out to you, you was there because you said, "Whoa, man, there's a real message there." And we want to get that message out. And you've been getting that message out to a tremendous amount of people throughout all of this time. Give us an example here of the people who come to you in private sessions, and people come to you just generally, maybe just out of curiosity originally, who want to learn about Elohim.
Yeah.
Are they everyday people, or are they more spiritual gurus?
They tend to be extremely intelligent. Elohim calls us the big brains.
Yeah.
He also calls us the overachieving light workers, in the sense that they're people who really want to evolve and grow and learn and find out and get answers and transform and push the envelope and really go for it. You know, that tends to be the group that we attract. And it's people who've looked around at lots of different spiritual teachings and not quite found the answers they were looking for. So a lot of the people that come to my community are people who have a big background in other spiritual teachings. And because Elohim focuses on giving us practical, actionable, step-by-step tools for transformation, it really appeals to people who've heard a lot of spiritual buzzwords but don't necessarily connect to how to make that work in their life. Elohim's all about, if it wasn't actionable, we didn't do our job. If you ask a question and you don't know the step to take to move forward on that answer, we didn't do our job. So that appeals to a certain kind of person who really is ready to step by step into a new life.
And you know, I'm always curious about this. Are there more women who are attracted to learning, at least about Elohim, than men, or vice versa? Or is it kind of 50-50?
No, it's never 50-50. It's usually about 85-15.
Women.
And it's women. And
right.
And what's interesting is that Elohim has a very masculine energy, and we even call him he or they. So there's a very masculine energy in Elohim, but then, of course, I'm a woman. And so that's always an interesting thing, especially for some guys, to hear a woman offering masculine energy. Every once in a while, men have a problem with that. But in general, guys like Elohim because it's very practical. It's not what you might call woo-woo. It's very, very down-to-earth. Yeah. And so the guys who do get into our community, that's the feedback they give me, that God, I'm just so happy that I can actually walk this path step by step rather than sort of having to wonder if I'm doing it right all the time.
Yeah, and you know, that's great food for thought here, Veronica, and I'm going to get my listeners in on this too. People, when you listen to people of distinction, you're listening to shows that are not necessarily put together for women at all. Because, as I said, they come from my guests come from national sources. But it just turns out that 60% of my listeners are women, and 40% are men. And that has been standard in everything that I've done professionally. I've always attracted more of a woman audience than a man audience. And one of the things that I chalk that up to is the beautiful energy that women have, feeling energy, emotional intelligence that women have. Women are, these are, they after a while we make cliches out of them, but it's so real. Sometimes cliches are made out of the actual, situations that they express. Women's intuition. Women are very intuitive, and they come to the plate with a great deal of curiosity. And you put those two together, and a lot of other things too. Women are just more forthcoming sometimes to new ideas and new expressions of creating and communicating some of the standard ideas. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that 85% of your group tend to be women. We want to get more guys involved as well, because I know that Elohim is a masculine force in the Jewish understanding of God.
What's an interesting thing about the difference between men and women that I've observed and that Elohim has illuminated is that women tend to do their spiritual journey day in, day out, and they progress in a very steady sort of way. Men are over there on the side, not going to any meetings, not doing anything, but they tend to get it in what we call kangaroo jumps. So all of a sudden a guy seems like he isn't interested, and the next thing you know, boing, boom, he's up with the woman. And women look at him and say, how the heck did you pull that one off? And it just seems to be the way the masculine energy works. I have seen men are very quiet about it until they're ready. And the men in our community, most of them are married to women who were in our community first. So the women came to the retreats, the women came to the meetings, and then they changed and grew and transformed, and it affected the partnership that they were in. And then the men, boing, up to them, and then then they show up to the retreat with them. It's great.
Yes,
it's great
it
when
is.
couples come. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I love that too. And men, because of our upbringing, but also maybe something natural within the state of men, women, men tend to be kind of like a lot of the problem solvers of our world, or at least they play that role. And to be a problem solver, and I'm not always talking about problems right now, but a solver of something, the analytical force, many times they have to listen. They have to be patient, and they have to put some things together. And, it takes a little bit of time to put everything together and say, okay, I see how we can work this. That epiphany comes a little bit more slowly with men because of that, for whatever reason, whether it's societal, whether it's natural, or a combination of both, most likely. We're getting it. Men sometimes take some time, and then all of a sudden, whoa, they're there. And women are kind of a little bit more there in the beginning, quicker than men. But then in the end, I love this man-woman synergy here, ultimately within our human family. And we're going to be talking to Eloheim about that. And I want you to order this free ebook here. Download it, Messages from Eloheim. We have Veronica Torres on People of Distinction right now, and she's the creator of that. You can go to Eloheim.com. That's ELOHEIM.com. Also, her private sessions. Take advantage of that. Eloheim.com/private. And before we bring Eloheim on, tell us a little bit about your private sessions and what people can expect from that.
Yeah, we love doing private sessions. I have three main options for private sessions. One is just the general, you got a bunch of questions you want to ask, you call up, we do questions. The other one is the core emotion session, which is a teaching that Eloheim developed to help determine or to discover the theme of your lifetime. You are studying something every second of every day that only you are studying. And when you know what that is, it just blows things open for you to know yourself more and to see why you do what you do and to understand how you're interacting in this world. And also to really take ownership of the fact that you are studying something that is contributing to the knowledge of all that is, and you're the only one doing it. And if you do that consciously rather than unconsciously, it can become the greatest asset in your life.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, the core emotion sessions are life-changing. The third option is what we call the private session series, which is where we have short sessions every week or every other week, and these are great if you're feeling stuck in a relationship, having a hard time on a project, feeling like you need to change jobs, anything where you can use consistent support over time. Because Eloheim's really great about identifying the underlying energetics in a situation, giving you tools and instruction of how to shift that, and then the next time you get on the phone, remembering where you were and taking off from there, finding out what worked, finding out what needs changing or tweaking or more help, and then moving on. And I've seen that just change people's lives. Absolutely. I had a lady tell me, I tried for 2 years to make a website, and with 5 sessions with Eloheim, I got it done. So that kind of I'm stuck, that's what the private session series are for. If you're really just wondering why your life keeps repeating itself, or you're really ready to know why you're here on this planet, core emotion. And if you just have questions, we've got that option too.
Look at that.
Yeah.
What a great rundown. People, you've got to love this stuff. You're going to love it more because we're going to bring Eloheim on in a second here. Again, go to Eloheim.com to order the free ebook, to learn more about all the great work of Veronica Torres, and especially to get involved with her private sessions, Eloheim.com/private. All right, so now the big grand entry here, the drum roll.
You ready?
Yeah, bring on Eloheim in the way that you know how, Veronica. Let's have it.
Let me just grab them. They're close because they're excited to meet you, so give me 1 sec here.
All right.
Aha! Hello! You're named Al. Are you named Al?
Yes, I am.
You're named Al. You have a great voice. It feels like chocolate. You have chocolate in your voice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's nice.
Love that.
It's nice to talk to someone with chocolate voice. We've never done that before.
This is really something. You know, right off the bat, it's so natural, so homey, that Eloheim speaks in such a forthcoming way, in such an excited way. This is really
we love
beautiful.
talking to new people, and we love feeling into the energy of your community as we speak to you. Your listeners create a community, and that creates an energetic that we can feel into. So it's like us meeting a whole bunch of new people all at once, which is really, really cool. Plus meeting someone like yourself who reaches out to the world on a regular basis and sort of shakes hands with all these different people across so many different communities. It's a fascinating energetic for us to be able to tap into. So thank you for that invitation.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My extreme pleasure here and honor. I'm really looking forward to a great conversation here with you. And actually, you refer to yourself as we.
Yeah.
So of course, here we think of that in the plural as many different component parts. Explain to my listeners right now how Elohim, a singular, noun, a singular word, becomes plural in that sense.
There's a variety of reasons for that. One is that for us, the energetic of a single is kind of odd in that we feel the expression of our soul across many different presentations, many different what you call lifetimes, many different environments. So we have a hard time feeling the I energy that most humans like. Also, when we first started working with Veronica, she felt very uncomfortable and almost out of integrity to say I when she was using our words. When our words were coming through to say I, it felt egoic and out of integrity to sort of own those words that weren't hers. So we felt we more accurately represents the energetic that's true for us and more accurately represents the energetic of the relationship that we have to the words that are being said from Veronica's perspective and from our perspective.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I love to talk about, in fact, it's become something that a lot of people identify with Al Cole, even though I didn't coin the phrase at all. I like to speak in terms of the human family. And when I speak in terms of the human family, I'm talking about the conglomerate. I'm talking about the unity, some common denominator that can express something that goes on in all of our consciousnesses, and that is love. Ultimately, love is that common denominator, I believe. And so when I say, we elevate the human family, we do this in order to express the beauty of our human family, even though I'm putting it in a singular term, the human family. Of course, I'm really expressing each individual who was ever born as being part of that human family. Is Elohim, or are Elohim themselves, part of the human family as I speak it?
Well, Yes, in that Veronica is a part of our collective, our soul energy, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the easiest way for your listeners and Veronica herself to understand it. If we said we are part of Veronica's soul, that seems like an understandable thing. So
Yeah.
Veronica is the human representation of our energetic at this time. So through her presence on the planet and her willingness to embody as a human, we have become part of your human family.
Absolutely, and and I love that direction here on this planet Earth, and particularly at this time, over maybe the last 20 years or so, but certainly in our 20th century, beginning with some great scientists like Albert Einstein and others who started to speak in terms of energy. Mm-hmm. And these days, even people who don't know that much about science will still use the term energy. Yes, mm-hmm. We're energy creations, and energy means everything in our lives. Mm-hmm. With Elohim, is Elohim energy essentially energy? Would you kind of identify with Elohim being an energetic force?
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense to us because we're non-physical. We're not physical in the sense that you're physical, right? You have a human body, and the human body really is energetic made dense in essence. Mm-hmm. We say that Earth is a place where you get to study density and duality and have free will. So if you imagine that everything is energy, and that energy presents itself in different forms, couches, chairs, tables, humans, dogs, cats, right? Then each of those has a different condensedness of energy. That's not the right word, but it's the only word we can think of. The sense that like a diamond is a very condensed version, and something like a cloud is a less condensed version of an underlying truth, which, your scientists call subatomic particles or electrons, that everything's made of the same building blocks. It just represents differently based on the circumstances that it's involved in. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about that is that means that you are not just your physical body. You're not just your gingerbread man shape, is what we call it. You don't just end at your skin. You are actually representing, your soul is actually presenting itself as every physical object you see. And you're using your gingerbread man shape to interact with your soul in this way. So the couch is your soul being a couch. And you, as your human shape, interacting with your soul as a couch, are learning about your soul in a way that Earth very, very uniquely offers. It offers you the opportunity to interact with your soul when it's shaped as a couch. How cool is that?
That's very cool. And, and you said Earth uniquely offering this.
Yeah.
Would Earth be the only planet that really offers this?
Earth offers it in a very distinctive way. Earth is a free will zone. Your solar system is a free will zone. And what that means is that nobody, not even what you might call God, the creator, your higher self, nobody gets to tell you how to do it. You get to decide. You have free will in this place. Free will in density and duality, right? You guys are always like black, white, off, on, up, down, night, day. There's always these duality positions that you folks on Earth are dealing with. You have density, which we already covered. And so density and duality aren't exactly common. So this Earth place is the place where you get to have this kind of body and experience density and duality. And the most fascinating thing, and it goes with what you said earlier, is that even though you have amnesia to your infinite self, amnesia to your soul self, amnesia to your great and larger self, you still, in general, the society turns toward the belief in something more than just this body. There's no evidence of it, really, but you still turn toward it. Now, sometimes that takes the form of religion, and sometimes that takes the form of other stuff. But in general, most people believe there's something more than this. whether they believe in a life after death, that's not even what we're talking about, although that's in this category. They believe in love, something that you can't see, but you certainly can experience, right? And so there's not this sense of, I'm worm food, I'm just going to get everything I can get before I'm gone. There's a sense of, I want something more in this moment. And that's the beauty of free will. You can choose to believe you're worm food, and yet something in you knows the bigger truth of you and seeks it. And that's been the most interesting part of this free will experiment, if you like. Souls like to do stuff. And so let's go to free will is like you guys saying, let's go to Disneyland, right? This will be a cool thing. Let's go try it out. Let's go do some lifetimes on Earth and do free will. But even with amnesia, you still have this pull back to the bigger self of and then that self combining with all the other selves. That's one of our favorite things about this whole gig.
Hey, look at that. Elohim speaks in, music lingo there, too. I'm a musician. I've been talking about gigs for a long time. And the only people who really use the term gigs are other musicians who come on my show. This is hip talk there, Elohim. We love it here on People of Distinction. And I'm gonna make a reflection here, if I might.
Yeah.
When you talk about density, duality, I'm with you there. Let's see if I say it in a way that relates here.
Okay.
Density. Now, we can think of density in many, many different ways. A real positive spin on density is when we say to each other, and we mean it in great ways, and especially musicians again. They're gigging and they're having a great time, and somebody might say something that's really cool, and we might say, "Oh man, that's heavy." Well, we mean, it's very dense in substance, and the heaviness is the fact that it makes sense. It makes sense out of something otherwise that we might consider to be lightweight that doesn't make sense. Now, that's one spin on density. And duality. We know that there have been, again, I may be sticking with the musical aspect here, that maybe somebody like John Coltrane, who was a great jazz musician, coming out of the 50s and 60s. And he invented something that was so cool at the time. Other people now have expanded on that. But at the time, he was the originator of something that was dualistic. At the same time that it talked about maybe street life, just through music, through notes. And he was over there, playing his sax. And he was going all over the place. He was using notes that maybe a lot of other musicians would have said, but that's discordant, John. It doesn't make sense in terms of the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do thing and the chromatic scale. But he's over there playing it, and he's saying, yeah, but see, our lives sometimes seem not to make sense. But we make sense out of it because then we bring in another aspect. We bring in that spiritual aspect. The street way is a way, one of the walks that we could take, with all of that schism involved, to take to get to that spiritual endpoint that now unifies through love and tells us that we're on the right track. With duality, sometimes we're honoring our human family for its multiplicity. We're saying, that's all right. We can be diverse. We can even sometimes not make sense to each other on the outside. But once we start to reinvent ourselves on the inside, once we start with our consciousness, once we start to know that the human family not only is out there, but it's in us as well, and somebody's consciousness out there, or at least what we intuit their consciousness to be, lives in us, and we can have that inner dialogue and make sense out of something that we thought was dualistic, me, you. Now we make sense out of it through energy, that energy connection that we have in our consciousness that is saying, you are the same. You are the same through love. You are love. Does this make sense to Elohim in the way that I'm putting it together with density and duality?
Yeah, so density and duality aren't inherently bad. They're just very different than how you are when you're not in a human form.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit like when you go on some of these carnival rides and all of a sudden you feel more gravity on your body. You know, you spin around real fast and you feel more gravity on your body. And you say, oh, that was fun. I felt really heavy. Didn't you feel heavy? I felt heavy. I couldn't move my arm. It's a bit like that, but a big exaggeration of that. To come out of a non-physical space and come into density and duality and start experiencing the idea of right, wrong, up, down, black, white, you know, on, off, day, night. It's like, wow, all this stuff. It's like going to a theme park for souls. And the opportunity then, as you were talking about, is, and this is where the cutting edge of our teaching is at this time, is we're studying It's All Me. And the idea being that everything you experience, as we mentioned earlier, is your soul offering itself to you for exploration. And that you're all having simultaneous experiences of knowing yourself in this way. So if you were here and you were sitting on the couch with us, the couch would be you and the couch would be Veronica, and you're having a shared exploration of your souls expressing in this way. And so we're learning that. So what we're basically doing is bringing the soul's perspective of the infinite into what has previously been seen as limitation, density and duality, and then expressing humanness with that soul's perspective integrated so that you can say it's all me and know what that actually means and know how to live that way. Love is one of the ways that people experience this. They see their child, they see their partner, and they feel a sense of connection on a level that they can't even understand sometimes. And that connection can help them feel that sense of, it's not just me over here in my gingerbread man shape imagining I end at my skin. It's me actually connected. And as those connections get bigger and bigger and bigger, sometimes people get into this, okay, just these 5 people I'm connected with. And sometimes they can make a bigger picture, you know, where it's a community or a church or a town or a race or a country. But what we're saying is it's just not with people or animals that you obviously love. It's with all of your physical surroundings. It's all you, and you're all of it.
Ah, you're all it. Whoa, that's in my book. That's a code. That's a code. Because we are all it. See, it is, that relates to my understanding of God. If I can use that term right now, my special term for God is beauty. Beauty is it, and beauty is all it. A-L-L, capital A. And we are all it as well. We're part of that, and we resonate. Now, going from that, I'm going to ask you a question that I don't know if you've been asked this. I assume you've been asked every question in the book over time. So I assume you've been asked this too, and I'm going to preface it this way. All right, being all it, human beings, they're learning from that Godhead, or they're learning from that higher self-capacity that Elohim can generate in people, can inspire in the human heart, the human soul, the human consciousness. And as Elohim is inspiring all of these beautiful, beautiful ideas, feelings, revelations within human consciousness, can now human consciousness give back to the source, Elohim, some of now the beautiful human wisdom that one has gathered from that revelation and using it in that beautiful human family mindset of love. Can we give back something to Elohim that is essentially going to now elevate Elohim themselves? Are we capable of doing that? And does Elohim experience that from the human family sometimes?
We certainly are inspired and moved deeply by the progress we see happen in the people that we work with. So we absolutely are fed by that. And what we would think would be a more constructive focus with that we get it without you trying to give it to us. But
Mm-hmm.
what we love is when people elevate themselves and then emanate that changed perspective, that changed relationship to fear, that changed relationship to habit, the changed relationship to the survival instinct. When that is emanated into the world, that's what really gets our motor running. It's the example we like to use of the red hat. Let's say you're walking down the street, and you look across the street, and there's someone walking the other way, and they're wearing a very cool red hat. And you think, you know what? Maybe I should get a red hat. That red hat looks awesome. What would it be like to wear a red hat? What would it feel like to have a red hat? Where do you get a red hat? I better get myself one. That was cool. The person wearing the red hat has no idea they had that positive effect on you. This is emanation, and a physical example of emanation, where when you are walking down the street and you are not caught up in the fear-based operating system anymore, and all of our work helps you get out of the fear-based operating system, you're walking down the street balance-centered and emanating your truth as the current version of you. You're the guy with the red hat, and you're showing the world through nothing more than being you. You're not running around preaching or telling people how they have to act. You're just walking down the road, and you're actually offering energetically an alternative to the habitual way that people have been human.
Mm-hmm.
That gift is the gift you have to give at this time. And we benefit from that through our enjoyment of watching what we call empowered evolution take place.
Empowered evolution.
Mm-hmm.
That is a beautiful statement there, because we are now on the verge of always becoming. At a certain point, do we actually become? We're empowered to evolve, and our evolution empowers us further. But do we ever get to a point where we're just there? Some people would say, and let me be, I should add, if I can, before you answer that, a standard answer would be, well, we are there, we just don't realize it. But I'm talking really now about substance being there, where there's no more dialogue, where we have fulfilled the purpose. And we're just there now. Everybody knows and everything knows. All the days of I know that we're there. And there doesn't need to be any more dialogue. There is just being, pure being at that point.
Well,
do we ever get to there?
Yeah, we're working step by step in our community doing exactly that. We have a teaching called the Levels of Creating, which basically leads people to what you're discussing. And the opportunity to live from something along the lines of what you're describing is absolutely within the grasp of the people we've been working with, and some of them rub up against it on a regular basis, if not actually live it on a regular basis. It takes quite a lot of recalibrating your relationship to the very necessary survival instinct. You had to have a survival instinct built into the system, the body system, in order to stay alive. Right? Because, something's got to help you stay out of the way of buses and not eat poisonous food and all that sort of stuff along the journey. What happens is the survival instinct starts to be put in charge of the spiritual journey, in charge of creativity, things like that. And the survival instinct is constantly saying, no, 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 don't try that. It's too big of a risk. It might get you hurt. It might get you dead. Don't. And so when the survival instinct is in charge of everything, not healthy. You're not going to be evolving, you're not going to be expanding, and you're probably not going to be creative. We help people have an evolved relationship, a healed relationship to their survival instinct. So it's still there if you need to hit the brakes fast or any of that sort of stuff, but it doesn't tell you to be limited all the time. And then we help you evolve your relationship to uncertainty, because you see, uncertainty surrounds you at all times. You don't know how many hairs are on your head, how your cell phone works, how the computer works, and there are certain uncertainties that people manage to be comfortable with, those sorts of things. Other uncertainties cause paralysis if you don't have a healed relationship to uncertainty. So we help you get a healed relationship to the survival instinct. We help you get a healed relationship to uncertainty. Now, the I don't know place becomes a place of exploration and expansion. And then you can push into the opportunity for the things you're describing. Yeah. So it really comes down to getting the survival instinct to be quiet in a healthy way, not ignoring it, but in a healthy way. And then you open up into the greater possibilities, some of which we've already discussed today, that exist for souls being human at this time.
You know, Elohim, my listeners and I are enjoying this conversation so much, and we're being edified by the conversation. At the same time, I want to ask you one other question here, based on a premise. When earlier in the show, when I was speaking with Veronica, she had mentioned, and I'm going to put it my way, so it's not verbatim at all, but it is, I think, it has a lot of the spirit of what she said, that, I'll put it this way. In the beginning, Elohim was. And then Elohim wanted to know, at that point, itself or myself or himself or something. And in the wish to know, then Elohim created an infinite variety of itself, himself, herself, that then became themselves. Is that a fair statement of Elohim?
It's a fair statement of what happened, but we would not want that job assigned to us. That task was actually assigned to the see, this is where language just really blows for everybody.
This is good. I love it.
Because a lot of people imagine that the word Elohim refers to God, meaning the prime creator, right? The thing that people think is the big honcho, right? If you're thinking imagining it as a man, the chief in charge. We like to think of it more as an energetic because that's how we normally think about things. But that wasn't us. We were one of the pieces that was created in that contemplation. All that is contemplated itself. And in the process of contemplating itself, it divided into an infinite number of pieces, let's call it. Each of those pieces we will refer to as a soul. We are one of those souls that was created. That soul that we have, when working with Veronica, identified as Elohim, the reason we picked the word Elohim is because our understanding was that word meant in the beginning. And we were here at the beginning of this earth experiment, as we described earlier. But we were not the head honcho guy in the beginning. That was not us. We are part of that, just like you are. We walk side by side with you. We have a different perspective on things, but we are not God. We are not worshipped. We are not prayed to. We are not asking for any kind of that deity stuff. We are side by side, walking along, giving you our perspective on things that we have a different insight on because we are in a non-physical state and because we have access to a longer time frame of memory than you do at this time, because you're in the amnesic state of being human.
So is being human, the human family, the relationship that Elohim has to the human family, is that the same relationship as that head honcho that you were talking about? For lack of a better term here, that's a fine term for me to use here because it's understandable the way that you used it. Does the head honcho have that same relationship to Elohim as Elohim has to the human family?
That's probably the easiest way to understand it. You know, it's one of these things that's kind of hard to explain because it's a lot more complex than that. But in a general sense, that's a reasonable way to talk about it because, as we shared earlier, Veronica is a part of us. You are a part of your soul. See, souls are a big deal. They're infinite. They're immortal. They've been around. They've done it. They've seen it, and they want to do it all some more. So it doesn't take your entire soul to run a human form. In fact, it takes a very small percentage of your soul to run a human form. So your soul can do lots and lots of things and be Al. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So just like when you talk to your scientists, the universe is way big, right? It's way big, lots of planets, lots of suns, lots of moons, lots of. Every time they look, it's bigger than they thought it was the time before, right? Very, very big place. This relationship that you were just identifying, very big relationship. However, the way you described it is a reasonable way to summarize it. Summarize it.
Mm-hmm. I told you a couple of questions ago that was going to be the last question. But I'm going to revise that. Hopefully this will be the last question.
We love it. We're like, that's consciousness right there. That's saying, I know what I said, and I'm changing my mind.
Exactly. And I hold the reservation to do that again. Change my mind again.
There's free will right there, and we
initially
can respond no, but in your case, we're saying yes. So there you go.
Because I love the revelation here.
Okay, what do you got for us?
Elohim. Now, getting to that head honcho.
Yes.
Could it be? You see, because the head honcho, I'm assuming here, since I ain't the head honcho, but there's a head honcho out there that we can fairly call God, that we can call that highest power, however we want to term it, that which spawned everything else. And spawned is used advisedly right now. However, you know what I'm talking about. Now, that head honcho, I would think that at some place in time or timelessness had choices. It didn't necessarily have to result in what it did result in. But even if it did have to result in what it resulted in, at that moment when that head honcho divided itself, wanted to know itself more, in the same spirit that Elohim is said to have wanted to know itself more, at that point, and created Elohim and now all of the infinite varieties that run through Elohim, that run through others like Elohim. Did
like
that
you.
head was one of the reasons why that head honcho did it? Could one of the reasons be loneliness? That head honcho felt lonely, just in oneness, and wanted to experience more variations of itself, like we do in marriage here on Earth, or any human relationships that we always say, gee, it's not just about me. I want to experience this with another human being. Sometimes we think in terms of a human body. I want to hold somebody else.
Yeah.
But even experiencing the emotional fulfillment with another human mind, consciousness. Could that head honcho have felt that just as a human being does? I feel incomplete just myself. I want to create more. Could that have been part of the reason here?
If you're assigning human emotions to the head honcho, that would probably be one of the emotions.
Okay.
We would hesitate to assign human emotions to the head honcho because we're not sure the head honcho is driven by human emotions. However, that's probably very close to the sensation. The sensation we would imagine, now taking it out of the emotional state and making it a little bit more cerebral for just a moment, the sensation was less about I am incomplete as I am. The sensation was more I know I can be more. So it's less about I yearn for someone else, which is the human thing, and a lot of that's driven by the survival instinct, right? Because safety in numbers is a real thing. And more driven by I know I want to know the more of me. So the aspect of learning, the part of you that learns a musical instrument, the part of you that learns another language, the part of you that goes to another country to see what it's like, we believe it would be more accurately described in that emotional state than in the loneliness state.
Yes.
Because it didn't come from a place of lack. It came from a place of desire for discovery. And lack and loneliness are kind of in the same category, and desire for discovery in a different category.
Yes, yes, and I get that. Wow, this is oh, boy, if you got time here.
Yes, give us another one.
Oh boy, now we're going to get social here, Elohim.
Okay.
And when I say that, I mean it.
We don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Are we going to go dancing?
We could.
That'd
after
be
the
fun.
show. What are you doing after the show there?
We don't know. We have to ask Veronica.
At least you got the feminine voice, So I can think of you as a woman. But we'll decide that later. But what I mean by social here is, on our planet, like you said, it's a planet of exploration. A lot of people who are very spiritual describe it sometimes as the playground of our universe, where people choose to come here to expand their horizons. And sometimes they're warned against it. I don't have this information directly. If I ever did, I certainly have forgotten it. Maybe it's in my memory bank someplace, my divine unconscious. But it's been said that people come here to Earth sometimes, even against the advisement of others who have been here, and said, I don't think you really want that, because it's going to put you through the ringer in ways that you're not anticipating right now. Now, it definitely has put many people, debatably everybody, through the ringer at some point in their life. Getting back to that head honcho who created all of this, with that head honcho looking at everything here, all of the wonderful possibilities that have been created, that will be created, and also some of the outright sadness and despair of what's happening, particularly on this planet, would that head honcho say, well, it's all in the cards, it had to be that way, don't worry, you work it out? Or would that head honcho sometimes even enter into this despair? Would that head honcho sometimes shed tears for some of our tragedies here on Earth?
You have to remember, it's really important not to imagine the head honcho as a human.
Okay.
Right? And so this whole thing, Earth and everything else, is all about discovery. So the idea that a soul could come onto Earth and discover things that you as a human would find tragic, you have to realize that there's two different perspectives going on. Mm-hmm. The human who's exploring density and duality and really being in a space where they feel, which is the purpose of coming here, is to feel and explore. That can seem like, oh, this is horrible. For the soul that doesn't have the density and duality can step back and say, magnificent, look at the evolution that you had. It doesn't mean that the soul delights in your dilemmas. It means that the soul recognizes that even through dilemmas you grow. And how many people have said that illness saved my life, right? Losing that job, it felt like the worst thing that ever happened, but it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened. Yeah. So you have this even in your own life, where one thing that seems like a disaster turns out to be an opportunity. And a lot of our work, through Veronica, with the community that we have and all the books we've written and the videos we've made, has been to help you have more of your soul's perspective on the things that go along in your life, so that when you run up against what you might consider a wall, you don't just stop and feel a victim of it. You sort of bounce off it and you're changed by it, more like billiard balls running into each other and changing trajectory than running into a wall, sitting down crying and feeling like it's all hopeless and over and gone. Yeah. This is a place of discovery, of evolution, and of transformation, and our work is really designed to help people find that truth in themselves, that truth in themselves, because it is true. It is true. The way you create your reality, right? This is a buzzword, create your reality. The way you create your reality is through your reactions to your experiences. Each experience offers you a moment to choose. Am I going to see it this way, which is as a victim, or am I going to see this way as a discoverer, as an opportunity, as I don't know what's going on, but I'm not going to see it as the worst bad thing that's happening. I'm going to see what it's offering me that I don't know right away. And in each moment, you have that opportunity. And artwork supports you in really knowing that's true and helping you remember it when the survival instinct says, this is bad, 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 which it likes to do, even when it's not actually true.
Boy, I'll tell you, Elohim, we love that. With opportunity, it's a beautiful way to cap off this discussion. The opportunity that we have as the human family and being able to be inspired by the wonderful energy of Elohim, that is just it is a love experience. And it really makes life so worthwhile. Everybody would agree that just to be born at all is such a great blessing. That's the greatest blessing of all. And you're proving again that when we understand some of our reasons for birth, we have that opportunity to just hit the heavens sky high beautifully in explorative energy and even get to that head honcho. One thing, this is a quick question here now. In the way that we as humans call you Elohim,
yeah.
Do you actually call the head honcho? Or do you have another word?
It's very funny to call him the head honcho. We might have to start calling it for that from now on. Do we have a name? What in your English language? What would we?
Yeah, in the English language, we use the word God.
We would never use the word God because God means something different to every single person who says it, and any word that means something different to everybody that says it, we don't use. But for us, it really is the all that is that offers all.
Okay. Okay. I think our listeners would be more comfortable with head honcho because there's too much to remember with the all that is that what.
Let's just say head honcho, but we have to really agree that we're not identifying that as a bearded white man.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's not a man. It is actually a movement, right? It's a movement of exploration.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of the head honcho in every single soul because it divided. And then the head honcho will reunite as an expanded self because each little bit of the head honcho that went out has become more and more and more and more and more as it's incarnated and had various experiences all over the place. And then when all of those things reunite, can you imagine? We don't even know what happens after that. That's down the road, as they say.
Isn't it something? Veronica is not the only channel of Elohim, I wouldn't think.
She's the only one that's working with our specific frequency.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an honor.
Yeah, well, she's part of our soul, right? She's our soul. She is in our soul, a portion of our soul made physical. So, yeah, the soul that is us, that's her right now, doing the human thing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Whoa there.
Yeah, she doesn't think about it very often because it is kind of a whoa, but she's just like, okay, I'll just, got to feed the cats, right? She's just very practical. She's very practical in that way.
Does Elohim actually have any opportunity sometimes, talking about opportunity, the opportunity to periodically listen to my show, People of Distinction?
Well, we are definitely tuned into your frequency now. So we are connected to your energy. We are connected to your energy and the energy of your community. And you know what's interesting about that? We'll just share something for you, right? A gift back to you for your interaction with us, is your community really trusts you. You are very trusted, and you are very much seen as someone who guides the conversation and brings people into your community that you can then find the part of their message that your larger community can lean into. So you have a very trusted energetic around you, and that's a beautiful thing to see. And so, you're curating at all times the guests that you bring on, the questions you ask, the way you extract from each guest what your community needs to be filled with and fueled with and offered. It's very cool.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Thank you
you're very
so much.
trusted. We can feel it. We can feel the people going, Al, this is a pretty unusual thing you're talking about, but I trust you, and if you say, yes, this is a cool thing, I'm going to have a more open mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to open my mind because I trust that you've curated this conversation. That's a very important and beautiful role.
It certainly is, and I feel honored for even being even near that role. That's a wonderful, wonderful contribution to our human family, and and Elohim knows when I say that, I mean it. My life is really devoted to those words, elevating our human family, through not only just my work, but in any engagement I can have with other people to help spark them to elevate within their own life other people through love. I really believe that we are a marvelous, marvelous creation. The human family, as well as Elohim, as well as that head honcho, everything that involves life itself and opportunity, and yes, even as despairing as it can get sometimes, the fact that we have that opportunity to elevate, create so many different possibilities in our lives, and not only just create them, live them through love and our beautiful exchanges of energy. That is the real beauty of being alive at all. And I really thank you so much for this wonderful appearance on People of Distinction with Al Cole, and you have been just outstanding in expressing yourself, and we love that. So
we enjoyed getting to know you more and feeling, as we said, into your community and really touching into the network of connection you have created. So thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much, Elohim. And at this point, I guess we can bring Veronica back in. It might be just as simple as 1, 2, 3 at this point.
Yeah, we'll go get her. It's funny because she always says, I'm going to go get Elohim, but when we do interviews, we go get her, so it's a fun thing for us. So we're going to go get out Veronica for a minute. Hang on. She's real close. Yep.
All right.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
I knew they were going to like you.
Yeah, that was sparkling. I loved it. And being able to ask those questions in just an easy, natural way.
Yeah. They're super easy to talk to.
Yes.
Super
absolutely.
easy. And that conversation was on kind of big topics, but they're just as easy to talk to when you call up and say, I don't know how to deal with my job, or my husband and I don't get along, or, any of that kind of, I feel afraid all the time and I don't know why. Those sorts of questions, those are the kind of questions we handle most often.
Yep.
These sort of big picture questions are really nice to do, but wow, the work that we do in the private sessions I described earlier is really more like, my kid doesn't like his school, what should I do? Those sorts of questions as well. So they really want to help us have this new relationship to fear and the survival instinct and uncertainty, so that we can really live the expanded life that we have the potential to live, but very few people ever manage.
I get it. And hey, people, talking to you, my listening audience right now, if you get it, and I know you do, I want you to reach out to Veronica here in many, many different ways. You've heard Elohim, and you've heard Veronica's exposition of how people generally reach out to Elohim. Relationship advice, with the family, with the spouse, with the self, the relationship that you have with you. Get in touch here, Elohim.com, and you can download her free ebook, Messages from Elohim. And while you're there, Elohim.com, just, go to another page, Elohim.com/private, and partake of her private sessions as well. And you're really, really, really going to love it. Veronica, this has been more than a pleasure. This has been, an experience, a revelation here with talking with you and then talking with Elohim themselves and, getting that beautiful, beautiful message out of everything that the human family can look towards Elohim for advice, consolation, and even, that connection to that head honcho. So we love this on People of Distinction with Al Cole, and you're invited back anytime for updates on your great work and another chance to dialogue, talk with Elohim. So thank you so much, Veronica, for being my special guest here today on People of Distinction with Al Cole.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful, wonderful connection, and I'm really glad that it was possible, and I appreciate it deeply.